Hi guys, it's Nick, the ASMR nerd, and welcome to another episode of Relaxing Reviews. Today's episode is going to be another first for the series. Today I'm looking at a graphics tablet, the kind that you use to draw things on your computer. Now, before we go any further, I think it's very important for me to point out that I do not draw things. I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, I have never used a graphics tablet before, which of course begs the question, why am I reviewing a graphics tablet? And there's a few reasons, really. One is that I think this is something that a lot of you guys might be interested in. I know, for instance, that there are a number of artists in the viewership of this channel, so I think this is something that might be relevant to your interests. It's also something that I think might make for nice, relaxing videos. I've had requests in past for drawing videos, and certainly drawing and coloring videos are a popular type of ASMR video. So I think it dovetails well with the channel in that respect. And the third reason is that I think there's value in getting a complete newbie's opinion on an item. Like, if I can use this thing and use it effectively, then probably anybody can. And there's a certain honesty and candid nature to a completely blind review of an item, I guess, or a completely new opinion on something. So that's what I hope to bring to this review, which isn't to say I haven't done my research. I have, and I think that in this particular situation, a first-timer's opinion is particularly relevant because the tablet that I'm reviewing today is definitely aimed at the beginner's market, at sort of the novice. What I'm looking at today is the Huion Inspiroy H950P graphics tablet, and it comes in at a very affordable $80, which to me seems like a pretty good price for this kind of hardware, and in fact is cheaper than many of the competing alternatives on the market. But don't let that affordable price fool you. The H950P has some very impressive specs for the cost. It's got like over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. It's got over 5,000 lines of resolution per inch on the tablet itself. And it's got a whole bunch of other really neat features like tilt control on the pen, a battery-free pen, things like that, that actually, in terms of the numbers, put it in sort of a higher tier. It punches in above its weight in terms of its feature set. But features, of course, numbers only mean so much. What matters is the usage experience. And that's what we're going to be looking at here today. So over the course of the review, if you're interested in checking out this product, there are, of course, links down in the video description that you can click through on and take a look at purchasing it for yourself. All right, without any further ado, let's take a closer look at Huion's H950P graphics tablet. And here we have the Huion H950P drawing tablet in box. And what a box it is. I love, love, love the art on the front of this box. It's whimsical, it's colorful, and I just love the overall design. It's so clean. It just features the art with little bits of text around the perimeter. We've got this lovely matte white finish, and then this incredible piece of artwork. I don't know, something about this really tickles me. I would put this on my wall. I just love the whimsy of it. Anyway, so very nicely presented from the get-go. It says over here, battery-free pen tablet. Over here, the branding, Huion. And up in the top right corner, or top left, I guess, Inspiroy H950P, which is the model. Around the front, not much to see there. Some more branding, Inspiroy, the series, and this plastic seal, which is branded with the Huion logo. H950P, very clean all around. Got a barcode sticker, another seal, Inspiroy again, and then on the back, or on the side here, create more, create different. Looks good to me. Let's see if there's more on the back, because so far, really not a lot of information on here. And then again, what more do you need, really? That's what you need. So the back of the box, very, very bare. Again, almost nothing. But we do have some specifications. And if you're a nerd like me, you love specifications. So what does it tell us? It gives us the dimensions, the size of the active area, which is 8.7 by 5.4 inches, or 221 by 133 millimeters. Pressure sensitivity, we have over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, which, as a layman, sounds like a lot to me. I feel like 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity is plenty, but I don't know. I'll have to do some research to see where that sits in the grand scheme of tablets like this, but sounds alright to me. Hand input resolution, 5080 LPI. Also don't know what that means. And a report rate of 233 PPS, which is something per second, I guess. So I assume that means that at 223 or 33 times per second, it reports the location of the pen on the tablet and sends that to the computer, which is actually maybe a bit lower than I would expect. I don't know. Like most keyboards and most mice, they use a 1000 hertz polling rate, so 1000 times a second. For instance, your mouse sensor will update its location and send that to the PC. Now, I guess when drawing, it's not quite as critical that you have the lightning fast reflexes that you need when you're playing like a competitive FPS, for instance. So presumably 233 updates per second is plenty enough to translate smoothly the motion of your stylus into input on your screen, but I guess we'll find out. Reading height, 10 millimeters, okay. So I guess it has a liftoff height of 1 centimeter. It'll still read input up to 1 centimeter above, is that what it's saying? Maybe that's configurable. I hope so, because that seems actually like a very high liftoff height. Has 8 customizable keys, a micro USB connector, it gives us weight and OS support. So this works under Windows 7 or later, or Mac OS X, OS 10.11 or later, evidently. And then some QR codes, so trendy. Some contact information, websites and such. Overall, though, really nice packaging. It's so clean. So clean. Really appealing to the eye as well. So, it's nicely presented. Okay. Let's cut these seals. and see what lies inside. Oop. Did that work? I don't think so. There we go. Need to be a little more assertive. Okay. All right, let's see what lies within. I'm excited, guys. I want to see this. This is my first ever graphics tablet, so... Okay, so, would you look at that? The inside of the lid has some foam on it. Again, very nice presentation, as this will protect the tablet in transit and prevent it from getting bumped or scratched and whatnot. And inside, pardon me, inside we have a thank you for choosing Huion card. Presumably inside that it says something. Thank you for choosing Huion. Our goal is for you to be 100% happy with your new Huion product. If you should need any assistance, please don't hesitate to contact us and we shall be glad to help you in every way possible. And some more QR codes. I guess that's just how we do things these days. Yep, that's good. Very polite. I will say my contact with the at Huion, the fellow I've been in contact with, has been incredibly polite. Nothing but very friendly and very proper to work with. He's been a good guy. All right. Download the driver and manual online. So this is like, hey, we're not including a CD because who uses CDs these days, right? So just go to their website to download the software. Driver and such. Makes sense. A warranty card. I believe this is warranted for a year, but it could be longer. I'll have to double check on that. I'll let you guys know after. But this is for writing down your product information. Anyway, it's just funny it doesn't say anything about the warranty on there. And here is the product, I suppose, nestled within a plastic molding here. Seems well protected on all sides. And of course contained within this sort of soft plastic bag. So let's pop that out. Can you hear those buttons? Very nice and snappy. Take a closer look at that in a second, but first let's look at the accessories. So here we have a right angle micro USB connector, which probably helps keep things clean on your desk. Seems to be of a decent length, this cable. If I had to guess, I would say maybe 3 feet, maybe even longer. Nothing fancy to be seen there. It's just a standard USB-A on this end. It does have Huion branding on it. You can see there. The molding has Huion branding on it. That's a nice touch. Here is the user manual. Quick start guide, it calls it. It contains exactly the kind of stuff you'd expect. I see it's shared for the H640P and the H950P. The 640P is kind of the little sibling of the 950P. installing the driver, setting up the tablet, replacing the nibs, because I believe the pen comes with replacement nibs, which you can replace when they are worn. It comes with quite a few, eight replacement nibs it looks like. And the replacement nibs exist within the pen holder, which is pretty cool. I can get the pen holder out of here. There. So there's the pen holder. Here's the stylus itself. It'll stay in there. I guess on your desktop or whatever, like your literal desktop. And it's got this little nib on the end here, which I suppose will wear over time as it, is drawn across the tablet. But I think, yeah, there we go. Look at that. It's a cluster of 8 replacement nibs contained within this pen base. I also like that sound, eh? The pen base is pretty plasticky. It doesn't feel that solid, but I'm sure it gets the job done. The stylus pen, on the other hand, feels pretty nice. It has buttons on it, I guess, which is pretty cool. Again, I have zero experience with this stuff. It's pretty light. I feel like I wouldn't fatigue myself using it, but it also feels comfortable to hold. This is kind of a soft, rubbery texture here, and then sort of a solid plastic up here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, let's put that aside. Again, this plastic molding. Let's see if we can lift it out of here, just to see. Oh no, I don't think we can, I think there's nothing under it. I think it's all just empty space underneath. And it appears to be glued in. So, yeah, there's no easy way to get it out. But that's fine, because we've seen everything we need to see. Overall, very nice packaging, very nice presentation. I have zero worries about the safety of this product in transport, for instance. It all seems pretty good. If anything, you could use something like half this deep, because, well, no, I guess they have a deeper channel there, but for the cable, nonetheless. Anyway, good packaging. Looks nice. Let's take a look at the tablet itself, shall we? And here is the H950P tablet in all its glory. I hope you can see it okay. It is a black tablet on a black background. But there, you can hopefully see that. If it wants to focus, there we go. So the tablet is quite sizable. It has an active area. There's little dots. You probably can't see them, but there. See that little dot on the surface there? So those dots, I think, denote the size of the active area. And they are here, and then here to there. So it's a fairly good sized area. Some very subtle Huion branding on this end, right there. It's kind of textured plastic on each side. And then, of course, these buttons, of which there are 8, clustered into 2 groups of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the middle buttons on each cluster have little dimples, or not dimples, the opposite of dimples, bumps, little raised bumps on them that make it easy to orient on them just by touch, which is a nice touch. The whole thing is plastic, and if you flip it over, it's got this, these are dimples. It's got this dimpled textured plastic with these feet. 1, 2, 3, 4. To prevent it from sliding around. It's got some barcodes and certifications and such down here. The edges are rounded, as are the corners. But overall, it feels quite solid. It's got a nice weightiness to it. It doesn't feel hollow or plasticky per se. I mean, it's made of plastic, but it doesn't feel like cheap plastic. The impression's pretty good overall. I think it's a nice looking, very clean product. Again, this seems to be a theme with Huion's stuff, both on the outside and on the product itself. There's nothing extraneous. There's nothing that doesn't need to be there. Now there should be ports on here somewhere. Oh, there we go. There's the micro USB port that you use the right angle connector for. And around this side, there is a little switch, which has a lock button next to it, which I assume locks the input. So that would make it so that it doesn't register, and that would turn it on, essentially. Although there doesn't appear to be a formal on-off switch. It's just that lock switch. And that is literally everything. That's all there is to be seen here. So I suppose we use our stylus on here, like so. Okay, although I guess in my case I want these buttons over on the left because I'm right-handed, so then I can activate the buttons with my left hand. I assume these are for switching between, say, different tools in Photoshop, or different palettes, or who knows, different colors, I don't know. And then be drawing over here, like so. And that is exactly what we're going to do next here. So I'm going to get this thing hooked up to my PC, install those drivers, and test it out, see if I can get it working with Photoshop. And then I'll bring you guys along. We can take a look and see how the Huion H950P functions. Let's go take a look. And here we have the Huion Inspiroy H950P plugged in and set up. It was a very painless setup. I just downloaded the latest drivers directly from Huion's website and installed them. And they installed with no issues on my Windows 10 PC. And I plugged in the tablet via its micro USB connector, which is right over here. You can just barely see it. And it recognized it immediately, and it works without a hitch. So very simple, very straightforward. Great for a first-time user, because actually reading about, I read that sometimes tablet setup is not so straightforward. But this was very easy, very painless to set up. Took all of a couple of minutes. So I've got Photoshop open here, the latest version, and as I've said earlier in the video, I am no artist, and I am certainly no Photoshop pro. I barely know my way around the software, but we're just gonna doodle a little bit and have some fun and just test out some basic functionality of the tablet here. And after that, I will show you the software, because Huion's software does come with some features for remapping. For instance, these guys here, these buttons, and the buttons on the pen, as well as some other configuration options. But I figure we'll try it out first, and then we will look at the the driver software. So this little pen holder, which I showed you guys in the unboxing, is very light, like I said, and it's actually very slidey. It strangely doesn't have any rubberized feet on the bottom, so it moves around a lot, and it's very light, so it's easily bumped, which is not great, but it does the job to hold the stylus, like so, or you can rest the stylus, or the pen, excuse me, like so, as I was demonstrating earlier. And of course it does have those replacement nibs in the bottom, which is nice. I have no idea how long a nib lasts, but I guess I'll find out if I continue to use this tablet. So let's bring up the screen here, and let's just start drawing some lines. So you can see that the stylus, the pen, will track your motions about a centimeter off the surface of the tablet. So I can, use it like a mouse, basically, and move around without actually, touching the surface. And the active area from this dot to that dot and over here is mapped like 1-to-1 to my screen. So I can, activate anything I need to, such as the brush options, by just coming over here, tapping. There we go. And that 1 centimeter lift-off distance, that sensitive distance, feels good, actually. It doesn't feel too small or too high. So let's start by drawing a line. Like so. So you can actually see a few different features at work here. And I'll explain them as I draw. And actually, now that I've done that, I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to let's undo those 2 little specks over there too. I'm actually going to make a new layer so that we can just delete the layer when we don't want it anymore. Okay, so there is actually, I think, one of these keys is bound, or one of these hotkeys is bound to create new layer. I can't remember which. We'll have to look at the software to refresh my memory. Anyway, so first of all, I've played around with this a little bit, not very much, just a little bit, and I'm starting to get a feel for the texture of this surface. It doesn't feel like paper. It's definitely smoother than paper, but it does feel nice. It glides very nicely. This pen glides very nicely on this surface, and it has just enough texture, just enough grit to it. It's very, very fine, but there's enough there that it feels good to draw on. I don't know how else to describe it. If it was completely smooth, you wouldn't get any feedback. There'd be no friction. You wouldn't be able to control the pen tip very well, I don't think. But I feel like there's just enough texture there. And the actual translation of my motions into lines on the screen is very, very smooth. So let's talk about a couple of the features, as I mentioned. One is the pressure sensitivity, of course. And as I mentioned earlier, this thing has 8,192 different levels of pressure sensitivity, which is absurd. That's more than I could ever imagine making use of, I guess. I don't think my motor control is fine enough to provide so many different levels of sensitivity. But if I just barely drag the pen along the surface, you can see it creates these very, very fine lines. It'd be very low pressure. And then if I take the nib and just really push it in there, we get these thick, dark, solid lines, which is exactly as it should be. So that's pretty neat, and that's something you can set up very easily in Photoshop. In fact, I think it is defaults to doing that with the paintbrush. Another thing that this has is tilt sensitivity. So you can tilt the brush or the pen, and you can see the shape of the brush changes. Here, I'll increase the size of the pen, the brush rather, so that you can see it more clearly. Oops. I don't know why it's jumping back like that. That's kind of weird. Sure, let's do it like that. Okay, so you can see when I'm holding my pen vertically, let's go to a clear space here, it's a nice round brush. But when I tilt the pen, it changes the shape of the brush based on the angle that you're inclined at. So if I want to get a flatter brush, you just tilt the pen like this, and you get this kind of oval shape. And I believe you can actually control the shape that it transitions to or between up in the brush options there. So, and then up on the tip, you get this big round. And that's pretty cool. And I believe there's 60 or so levels of tilt sensitivity, and it seems to work pretty darn well. And between those two, between the pressure and the shape, you have quite a bit of a natural control over the type of line you're drawing. I mean, in theory you do. I'm not very good at this, obviously, so I'm just experimenting with this all, but in theory you have quite a bit of natural control over it. Alright, that's a big mess of doodles. Let's just delete that layer, shall we? Let's go boop. Yes, delete layer 1. And let's make a new layer. Now, maybe this would be a good time to take a quick look at the software. So the software is, like I said, very easy to install. And once it's installed, it'll just hang out down here in your system tray. That little icon will be blue if the tablet's plugged in, and it'll be gray if it's not. But if we open that software, might have to, there we go, long press. This is the screen that greets us. Gives you your software version number. Now this export and import and default settings allow you to save and import profiles of settings, which is kind of nice. It says down here device connected, so clearly we're connected, obviously, because we're using it, but the interesting parts are up here. So let's start with work area. As I said, the active area of the tablet translates to the full size of my screen. And you can set that by just hitting full screen area. You can select the display, which it is associated with. I have 2 displays. You can also set custom bounds. It looks like set custom bounds to the sensitive area, as well as to how that translates to the screen. You can do that, looks like to quite a high degree of precision. And that'd be handy if you have drawing software where you only want the tablet to register in a certain portion of it, I guess. And then over here we have rotation settings. So if you wanted, you could take the whole tablet and turn it to work in a vertical, like a portrait orientation, rather than the default landscape. And you could also flip it 180 in landscape mode so that you could use this left-handed. So this will work either left or right-handed. Under the digital pen setting, we have, unsurprisingly, the digital pen controls. And here you can control, change what the buttons on the pen do. So there's two buttons. So one on the bottom and one at the top of this rocker. This rocker is very easy to find under your finger because it's sort of a smooth plastic texture, which stands out from the soft rubberized texture of the grip. And overall, it is a very comfortable pen. It has a decent weight to it. Not a lot, but enough that it feels substantial without feeling, like it's going to fatigue you to hold it. Honestly, it feels like a pencil or a pen, really, like a traditional one. But it is battery free. There's no battery in here, so you'll never have to worry about charging it or replacing it. So here we can control what the different buttons on the pen do. You can create combination options, so you could make one of them undo or something if you wanted to. Control Z. You can have them emulate mouse buttons. You can set them to do, I guess, switch brushes in Photoshop. I don't quite know how this works. Switch screen. I don't know. I guess switch from left to right monitor, or even set it to run a program. Interesting. And that will work for either of the buttons on the pen. Then over here we have a couple of settings associated with the tablet and the pen. This lets you get a feel for the different pressure settings. So you can see as I push down, we create, just let it just barely touch. We get very low pressure. Then as I push more and more and more, we get up to the higher pressure. You can clear that. But this is a little handy demo space to see. Make sure that your pressure settings are working properly. And then you can change that sensitivity if you want it to register more sensitivity earlier. You can drag this down, and I just have to barely touch the tablet for it to register quite a lot of pressure. Or you can go the opposite direction. And this makes it so you have to press a little harder for it to register the full pressure. And this is the curve by which it adjusts the sensitivity ramp. And actually, I find this setting, I think, a little bit better because it allows me to get those really light sensitivities. Whereas by the default, for me anyway, even my lightest touch barely triggers. Or sorry, the opposite, my lightest touch registers quite a bit of pressure. So let's just set that there. And my lightest touch is barely triggering. That's what I want. So we can just hit apply right there. You can clear that. Honestly, I'm not sure what mouse mode and game mode do. I can't imagine you'd want to use this tablet as a game controller, but I guess it's supported. It can emulate a mouse, right, in a game. That sounds like a nightmarish way to play a first-person shooter, but I could see it working in a game like Civilization, Anyhow, and I don't know how these toggles change that, the behavior. I suspect that's in the manual. I might go take a look at that after, just because I'm curious. Anyhow, and then of course you can enable or disable Windows inking from in here, which is allows ink-based input, drawing and writing-based input within the Windows environment. I've heard that sometimes that can cause problems with some kinds of drawing programs. I've also heard that it's necessary for others, like Photoshop, so I'm just leaving it on right now. But you can adjust that from within here as required. Finally, you can configure each of these shortcut buttons. And this is what I really wanted to get at here because I wanted to check what they do because I forgot. So you can choose to disable them if you want. Unfortunately, this tablet does not support touch with the finger. It'd be nice if it did, because then you could use multi-touch gestures to zoom and rotate and all kinds of things. Sadly, not available with this particular model, but at this price point, I suppose you can't expect the world. But you can configure these 8 shortcut keys. And so by default, Control Alt Shift N, I think that creates a new layer in Photoshop. Control Alt Z is undo, I believe. Control plus and minus are zoom in, zoom out. I believe the square brackets change the brush size in increments. Space will let you pan around your image. And Control S will save. So those are the default bindings for these shortcuts. So I'm not going to change those, but just to demonstrate that you can, just click on that, and you get the same interface as with the buttons on the pen to change those settings. So that looks to be quite flexible. Okay, so let's close that and let's actually draw something. Okay, so let's first of all, let's try out these shortcut keys. Let's make the brush size smaller. Let's make it way smaller. Yeah, let's say like 7. Get a little bit more detail here. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Undo. Now, I have to be careful because I think the undo shortcut right now, because of the Alt-Z in it, I might actually open my NVIDIA GeForce Experience overlay. So I am going to actually just undo my keyboard right now. And I don't know, I guess I could change the shortcut for my NVIDIA GeForce Experience overlay and that would fix that. Anyway, why don't we, okay, I've got a picture of a Pikachu over here. Let's see if I can use that as a reference and draw a picture of Pikachu that doesn't totally suck. Okay, that's the goal we're going for here. I don't want it to look like complete trash, but that might be a bit of a lofty goal. Let's start off by making a new layer. So I believe that's this hotkey here. Yes, it is. So we have a new layer. And let's, okay, I'm going to have to look over at it here and see. Okay, so he's got kind of a head. Comes like this. And then kind of down like this. And I think I've already probably messed up because I'm going to run out of space here. But I guess what I can do, sure, why not? Let's do can I do a lasso select here? And just move that. Now let's do a move. Let's move that up a little bit. Yeah, there, give us a little bit more space. Maybe like right there. Sure. I don't know how to deselect. There. Let's go back to our brush tool. I wanted to draw Pikachu because, oh gosh, what have I done? I have to select a layer, I guess. There. Because Detective Pikachu is coming out this week, and I'm real excited for that. Not gonna lie. Okay, so let's then come across the top of his head. Ooh, that wasn't very good, was it? Let's undo that. Let's come across the top of his head. Yeah. And so he has one ear in this picture, this reference image. It comes out kind of at an angle like this, which is kind of cute. He's a little lop-eared. Oop. Again, I want to remind you, I've literally never done this before. Okay. And then he's got a black tip on his ear that comes down like that. And then we'll color that in a second, but for now, let's come over here and let's give him another ear, which is kind of sticking up at an angle like so. Yeah, that looks like a Pikachu here, doesn't it? They're roughly the same size. And it's got a line. Comes down like this. Cute. Okay. And then this kind of comes down here, and then the back of his head kind of comes down. Okay, maybe not. It's not quite large enough. Not quite chubby enough. Comes down kind of like this. Then we're going to get the rest of his body, which kind of just flares out like this. And he's kind of got this baggy pants look going on here. And then it kind of comes up. Not quite like that, but not far off. So I'm undoing, but I could also use the eraser, which I believe I can just click there and then erase. Look at that. Look at that. Almost like it's made for it. And then, oh no, that's not what I want. I guess I would want to bind something to B, because I think B gets me back to my brush. Okay, so it kind of just stops there because his body, because his arm actually kind of comes down from up here, weirdly enough, like so. And then he's got little Pika fingers, which are so, oh gosh, they're so cute. Not at all like what I just drew. Let's do that. Let's see if I can manage this. Gosh. Okay, these are a little bit fatter than in the reference image. But, here, I've got an idea. Let's zoom in. I believe that's here. There we go. If I hold this, I can pan around. Okay. So let's just erase all those because those are hellish. And let's, you know what? Since we're here, since we're doing it, let's change shortcut. Let's go back to our pen. Let's change this from mouse right button to B. Let's hit OK and hit apply. Now I should just be able to switch to my brush. There we go. Look at that. That eraser, back to my brush. It appears to be right-clicking at the same time. That could be a Windows thing. I'm not sure. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't much matter right now. Okay, so there's one little Pika finger. Nope. This is going to prove challenging. Okay. 1, 2, good. 3, 4, and a little Pika thumb. I guess. That's a little big. It's just there. That's terrifying. Okay, and then his arm kind of just, it's a chubby little arm, kind of comes down like this. That doesn't really fit, does it? Oh no, what have I done? He's got a very tiny hand. Okay, this is different strategy. We're going to draw his arm first so that we have a better sense of the scale that we need for his arm. So his arm's actually about this wide, and it comes down kind of like this. Now this may be a little bit beefy still. Because you had no idea what you signed up for when you started watching this video. Okay, good enough. You know what? We're just going to YOLO it. Let's zoom in. Let's do that. Let's pan over here. And then let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, not that. Not that at all. 5. Okay, you know what? That's all right. The perfectionist in me isn't letting me leave it. Okay. All right. I'm content enough with that. That looks approximately like a Pikachu hand, arm. Okay. Then we're going to do another one. over here. And in the reference image, he's kind of like half turned forward, so his arm is actually about like here. And then he's got another little Pika thumb here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, look at that. Look at that. We're becoming professionals just like that. Okay, after that struggle, let's go up to his face, shall we? This is going to be an important part. So he's got his little red cheeks. He's got one here. And then if we come over here, he's got another one right about there. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then his cute little eyes. Cute big eyes, really. Pikachu's got big eyes. So one of them is going to be kind of over here-ish. Maybe a little bigger even. And he's got kind of shiny parts in his eye, like so. This looks like an eyelid, so Pikachu looks half asleep now. But actually, I'm going to fill this whole area in black in a second. And then he's got another eye right about here. And it's also got a shiny little bit right about there. What am I creating? This eye, now that I'm looking at it, it should be rounder. Maybe we can just make it a little rounder. This looks nightmarish right now, but I promise we'll fix this. Okay, let's, where's my paint bucket tool? How do I fill in Photoshop? Oh gosh, guys, I don't know how to do this. Okay, you know what? It doesn't matter. Let's just do it the old-fashioned way. Let's make our brush nice and big. Maybe not quite that big. Right about this big. And then let's zoom in one notch. And then pan over here. And we're just going to do this manually. Forget the paint bucket tool. We're just going to color it as if we were doing a coloring book. Professional. And color in this other eye. I'm sure that this is not like best practice for digital art. I should probably be doing my line drawing on one layer and then my coloring on another layer, but I don't care. So the nice thing about that pressure sensitivity is I can just let up on it to make that work a little bit better. I can do finer lines even with the bigger brush. Oh gosh, no, that was a big no-no. Let's fix that. I'm just trying to make this look a little rounder. Okay, that's something, isn't it? Now let's change our brush to white, and just that's not what I wanted to do at all. How do I change the color on my brush? How do I swap to? I just want this to be white. Please tell me. There, yeah. I'm sure there's an easier way to do that, but I'm just gonna make this a little bigger. Okay. Now while we're over here, let's make something red. Let's get some red cheeks going on. What's a Pikachu red cheeks kind of color? Maybe there-ish. I don't know why I'm coloring before I've even finished drawing the lines, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Now this is where it would be wise to put the colors on a different layer. As a matter of fact, let's do it. Let's make a new layer down here. Or no, wait, I've got a button for that right here. New layer. And that layer is going to go underneath layer 1, actually, so that I can do this without overriding my lines, because I want to see the lines. There's his other cute red. Oh, too much. Let's switch to the eraser. Switch back to my pen, or my brush. I could make my brush smaller. That's probably the wise thing to do here. Let's do that. Oops. There we go. Okay. Made my eraser smaller instead. Whatever. Anyway, okay. So this is starting to look a little like Pikachu, isn't it? Okay, so now let's give him a little nose and a little mouth. Let's get back to our black. I know there's easier ways to do this. I just do not know what they are. So there we go. Okay, so let's go for a smaller brush. Small brush. Let's give him a little nose. Just give him a little nose right about here. He's got a little triangle nose, just like that. Just slightly rounded on the top. There. I think that's pretty cute. And then a little mouth. He's got a very tiny mouth. Let's increase the size of our brush. And just give him this little mouth. It kind of goes like this. Nope, not like that at all. Let's undo that. Kind of goes like like that. It's a little crooked Pikachu smile. Let's, that's pretty good, but let's just straighten out this side a little bit if we can. Might have to do the whole thing again, but we'll see. This side's a wee bit longer. There we go. Okay, he's got a slightly crooked smirk. I don't care. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to move it down just a wee bit, because I feel like it's sitting a little too high on his face. Maybe like right there. Yeah. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so I'll deselect here. I just realized I'm doing all that on layer 2, which is my color layer. Whoopsie doodle. Oh well. Okay, so now let's zoom out a bit here. Okay, this is this for the long haul, guys. Let's zoom in a little. Let's get back to our brush. Let's draw on layer 1 where it should be a couple more features, like the stripes on his back, which kind of do that, except better. Kind of do that, and then another one down here, which kind of comes in like that, and then let's zoom out, and let's give him feet. He needs feet. So let's pan down here, and let's see, they kind of stick out like this, honestly, and then he's just got little lines like this, and then the same thing over here. We've got one that kind of comes out like this, and then that's a little fat, that foot. I don't think that's quite what we're going for. I think it's more like yeah, that's close. Good enough, actually. And then this does kind of like that. Okay, so how are we looking then if we zoom all the way out here? Trying to fix my lines, just making them messier. Okay. It's kind of like Pikachu, isn't it? I feel like the head is a little too small, actually, believe it or not. He's got a bigger head than this. But, okay, last thing, before we give him some yellow, is this tail. And it comes up a bit like this, and then a bit like that, and then a bit like this, and then like that, and then like this, and then like that. And then in this this picture, it comes down like this and actually goes behind his head, but I've kind of put it in the wrong spot a little bit. So we're just going to kind of freestyle here a little bit. A little bit. How's that look? Maybe we'll get rid of that last line and just give him a slightly thicker base to his tail. Yeah, that looks kind of like a Pikachu tail, doesn't it? Kinda, a little bit. Let's just fix up that corner a little bit. I feel like that could use some work. Okay, I'm happy enough with that. That'll do. And then he's got little spikies down at the base of his tail there. Little brown base of his tail. Okay, so I think that's all the line drawing. So now let's go to layer 2. And let's switch over to a Pikachu-esque kind of yellow. Maybe we can just do, oh yeah, let's just do that. I think that's probably yellow. I'm not really sure, being colorblind as I am, but how about that? It's like a less. There's going to be a green in here somewhere. Is that yellow, guys, or is that green? I'm pretty confident that's yellow. So let's just do that. And let's increase the size of our brush dramatically. And zoom in a little bit. And let's color this good boy. Very bright yellow Pikachu. He'll be recognizable. So have any of you guys seen Detective Pikachu yet? By the time this video goes up, it will be out. Although it is not yet when I am recording. I really do like this pressure sensitivity that allows me to let off on the pressure when I'm doing sort of smaller spaces here or like along the edge. So, and I also appreciate this this tilt function, so I can get this kind of narrower, more oblong shape, like so, or a bigger, rounder shape when I'm doing big areas like this. Now we're gonna run into issues up here because that mouth is actually technically on the wrong layer. I'm just gonna color right through those brown stripes because we'll get them in a second. How far do we want to go here, guys? Do we want to try shading? Dare we? Maybe we'll try shading in a second. This has already been quite the adventure. Oopsie daisy, of course. The red of the cheeks is on the same layer as the yellow that I'm putting on right now, so that's not great. What I should have done is put this yellow on an entirely separate layer, which would have been very clever, but it's too late for that now. But I guess it's never too late to start, is it? Tell you what, let's go a new layer. This is probably terrible working practice. Let's do that. Let's put it underneath the existing layers, and then I should just be able to go, haha, nice and easy. And it'll even go under the mouth and the nose. Just like that. This is actually way more fun than I thought it was going to be. I'm really enjoying myself. There's something therapeutic about coloring and drawing, even when your Pikachu looks a little derpy like mine. You know what? He's just a little disproportionate. That's the biggest problem here. He should be a little bit bigger in the head and smaller in the body. But that's okay. considering this might actually be my first drawing of Pikachu ever. Probably not ever, but maybe since I was like 12 or something. I think it's turning out okay. Oh, I'm getting a little messy here. I could go for a smaller brush. Am I missing something here? I thought that was my smaller brush settings. Oh, that's funny. Oh, okay. That didn't do anything for a second, and then it did it all. I don't know if that was my computer just having a moment there or what. Interesting. Okay, let's make this a little bigger again. Okay. Here we go, like so. Like that. It's down here, like that. Clean this up right here. Okay. Oh, his tail though. We can't forget his tail. Switch back to drawing brush. Make this a little larger. Sorry, drawing brush. Make that a little larger. And finish up on the tail here. I'm trying to go too fast. Ending up drawing outside my lines or coloring outside my lines. Okay, come right down there. And quick little trip back to the eraser here just to clean up where I went outside the lines. Okay, now we're talking here, guys. Look at that. It's perfect. Okay, now we just need a little bit of brown for a couple of spots. Gosh, what the heck is brown here? Is this brown? This might be a light brown. I don't really know. We're going to say it is, though. We're going to call it light brown. And we're going to throw a little bit of that on. Right in here. Getting used to the shortcuts, slowly, bit by bit. Right around the base of his tail, got a little bit smaller. There we go. When you zoom in, you can see parts where I've kind of messed up a little bit, but it don't matter. It really doesn't. Okay. Let's come in here. Oh, I'll need to do this on a layer 2. I hope this is the right color. I hope this is light brown. I think it is. But like I've said, colorblind here, so it's entirely possible that it's not quite right, in which case I apologize. But, okay, and then the tips of his ears are actually black now that I'm looking at it. So let's just go back to our black color here and just color those in. It's funny, he's got the brown elsewhere and then the black right for the tips of the ears. Okay, and over here. Oops, daisy. That wasn't right. I know I could use a paint bucket tool here, but there's something satisfying about just coloring it in by hand. Something satisfying. Also, I don't know where the paint bucket tool is, so I think they changed the icon or changed the way it works a little bit. Just trying to fill out that ear a little bit. Okay, guys. Now, let's zoom out like so. And there we have our beautiful Pika boy looking just fantastic, if I do say so myself. Now, it's clear that this is not something that I do a lot of, and he doesn't look exactly normal, but you know what? That's not the fault of the tablet. The tablet has performed admirably, and it's been very easy to use with its shortcut buttons over here, and this nice smooth action of the pen on the surface, translating my admittedly questionable lines into our little Pikachu guy here. I was thinking of doing some shading, but you know what? I've already wasted enough of your time, so instead of shading him, we're just going to leave him like this. He's precious, honestly, he's precious, and I will not have anybody telling me otherwise in the comments. But now that we've used the tablet, and you've all had a chance to see how it works, and the software and all that, I think it's time we reconvened and talked about the pros and the cons of Huion's Inspiroy H950P, and then I will give you my final verdict. All right, so we've had a chance to look at, in great detail, Huion's H950P graphics tablet, and I've had a chance to use it somewhat extensively. I obviously drew this beautiful picture of Pikachu that you just saw, and I've played around with it a little bit on my own time as well. One thing that I really wanted to point out before we get to the pros and cons is something that I meant to show you in the previous section, but forgot. So I'm telling you about it here and showing you here. And that is that in my reading about this tablet, I came across some people talking about an issue where when they're drawing straight lines on an angle, so like a 45-degree angle straight line, the line is not as straight as it ought to be. There's a bit of wobble to the line. And apparently this is most pronounced when the pen is at a low angle, like a sharp tilt, like 30 degrees or so. And so I tried this out for myself, and as you can see, that is in fact the case. When you're drawing a straight line, and I used rulers here, when you draw a straight line using the ruler and holding the pen straight up and down, perpendicular with the tablet surface, no evidence of any wobble. But when you draw a straight line using a ruler and you tilt the pen at a sharp angle, you start to see some line wobble. And this is most pronounced again at extreme low angles with the pen, and when you're moving the pen slowly, when you're drawing the lines slowly. And so you can see it in the video there, and it's not really outrageous, but it is noticeable. That being said, this only seems to occur when you're drawing lines that are angled, when you are drawing lines using the pen at a low angle, and when you're going really slow like that. So it's probably not going to impact the majority of users. It's not something that I noticed when just playing around with it. I only picked up on it because other people had been talking about this online. Evidently, a recent firmware update, which all the new versions, tablets should be shipping with, helps to improve the situation and reduce that wobble. And I think I probably do have that firmware update on this particular model, because it's really not very pronounced, and you have to have very specific situations to replicate that effect. So anyway, I just wanted to let you all know about that little nitpick, because that is, although an edge case, it is an important aspect of the performance of this tablet. Okay, and with that out of the way, it's time to talk about the pros and the cons of this tablet. And because I'm a positive guy, I like to start with the pros. The first thing that I really liked about this tablet was the easy setup. Honestly, it was pretty foolproof. And again, as a complete newbie to using this kind of hardware, I really appreciated that. I was worried that there was going to be a more involved setup, especially getting it to work with software like Photoshop, but nope. Downloaded the drivers, installed them no problem, plugged the thing in, and literally everything worked out of the box like that. So, really easy setup. Second thing I really like about this tablet is the battery-free pen. It's never going to run out on you when you're in the middle of drawing, and you're never going to have to worry about charging it. Third thing I dig is just how smooth that inking feels when you're drawing with this pen. It's a combination of the surface, the finish they have on the surface of the tablet, and probably to do with all those levels of pressure sensitivity, as well as the resolution, the 5,000 or more than 5,000 lines per inch, gives you a really smooth feeling that your motions, your drawing motions, are being translated very faithfully onto the screen. One thing I didn't mention while I was using it earlier is that there is a tiny, barely perceptible, but a tiny amount of lag between when you make a motion with the pen and when it appears on the screen. It's very slight. It is noticeable. It took a few minutes of practice to get used to, but I stopped noticing it after a little while. And my understanding is that that's common to pretty much all these kinds of devices. So if that really bothers you, it's worth noting, but it's not something that I noticed after a short amount of time. Overall, a really pleasant and smooth inking experience with this tablet. In a similar vein, I really appreciated all those levels of pressure sensitivity. In terms of the actual functional use of like over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, I'm not sure that I would notice the difference between, like, say, 8,000 and 4,000, especially since I have nothing to compare it to, really. But just from a pure technical perspective, from like a tech specs perspective, that many levels of pressure sensitivity puts this $80 tablet into sort of a much higher price bracket when you're looking at the competition. So technically impressive in that sense. Similarly, I was really happy to see that tilt control on the pen. I think it's a really cool way of further being able to translate your motions, your natural motions, into, inking on the computer. And it's just it offers another way to control what you're putting on screen. And even for a complete newbie like me, it was noticeable and a pretty cool feature. And finally, perhaps this tablet's greatest strength is that it does all this for $80 US. This is a very affordable tablet. There are cheaper ones out there. They go all the way down to like $30 or so. But those are often much smaller. They often have way fewer levels of pressure sensitivity and just generally technically inferior. And this, for $80, it seems like you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with this tablet, especially when you consider the price of competitors like Wacom. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Wacom, which is kind of the incumbent market leader when it comes to tablets. It's a well-known graphics tablet producer. A lot of their products, if you want specs like what you're getting with the Huion tablet we looked at here today, if you wanted those specs in a Wacom tablet, you're looking at paying twice as much, if not more. So I think price is one of the great strengths of Huion's Inspiroy H950P tablet. Of course, nothing is ever perfect, and there are a couple of quibbles I have with this tablet. The first of them is that pen stand feels really cheap. It's very light, it has no rubberized feet, and it's the kind of thing I would accidentally bump and knock off a table because it has no weight to it and it has no grip on the bottom. It does what it needs to do, like it will hold the pen, although granted not super securely. But it doesn't feel like it's up to the quality of the rest of the product, especially because the tablet itself feels very well made. It's got a nice weight to it. It's very stiff. It's not got any flex or anything to it. So I feel like that pen stand is just it feels cheaper than the rest of the package. Second downside to this product is that at the $80 price point, you can't expect the world. And there are a lot of great features packed into this tablet considering the price. But one thing that's missing is finger touch support for like touch gestures. This is something that would be really nice to see. It would allow you to do like pinch to zoom, rotate, all these kinds of things using finger touch gestures. And certainly I know there are other products on the market that do support touch gestures. They tend to come in at a higher price point. But nonetheless, it would be a pretty awesome feature to see on a tablet like this. And finally, I have to mention that line wobble that shows up at extreme pen angles. I described it and showed an example of it a few minutes back in the video. You can go check it out if you didn't see that. Again, it's an edge case scenario. It's probably not something that most users are going to encounter. And it does seem like Huion is aware of the issue and has taken steps towards improving it through firmware updates, so that's always good to see. But it seems like it's not been entirely quashed yet because I was able to replicate that issue on my sample of the tablet. So that's a slight unfortunate glitch in this tablet. So what is my final verdict on Huion's Inspiroy H950P graphics tablet? Well, I think it's a really impressive piece of kit for the price. As a complete novice, I found it really easy to use, very simple setup, and it did exactly what it purports to do. It faithfully translated my hand motions, pen motions, into beautiful, smooth, pressure and tilt sensitive inking on my screen. It did so at a very, very reasonable price, $80 US, and with solid build quality throughout. So I think that for first-time graphics tablet users who are maybe looking to learn how to draw, just getting started, or even for more experienced artists who might be using older hardware that's technically inferior, I think that Huion's Inspiroy H950P is a fantastic, affordable graphics tablet option, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed with it. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of another relaxing review. Special thanks to Huion for sending the review sample that we looked at here today. And of course, if you're keen on picking up one of these for yourself, you can click through on the links down in the video description. The product is available both on Amazon or direct through Huion's website, so make sure you check that out. And of course, a special thanks to all of you for watching today. I hope you found this informative. I hope you found it relaxing. And I look very forward to having you all back here next time for another episode of Relaxing Reviews. Bye for now, guys.